Let me guess, you are stuck in that really boring robotic solo plateau where you're just running up and down the scale. We all get stuck there. Let's focus on breaking out of that. This lesson will make your guitar solos so much better right away, I absolutely promise. If you don't know, my name is Ryan Gaughan. I've been helping guitar players for over 20 years, really bridge the gap between their creative ideas and what they're able to play, becoming fully fretboard fluent. If you would, please hit the subscribe and bell notification to get more videos on making your guitar playing better. Let's get started. Really quick, this video is part of a mentorship program, a course that I teach. So it's going to move a little slower than if it was just a YouTube video. And I'm sort of, I sort of frame some of these as like if I'm talking to a group of students or even friends. So just a little heads up about that. All right, my friends, I want to go into something that is going to really expand your guitar playing abilities. I love this concept fully. And we're going to attach it to language as we do, throughout this whole program. And what it really gets into is, looking at chord tones, looking at phrasing, and being able to say the things that we want to say with the guitar. I think one really cool way to look at this that our favorite guitar players do as well is if we're looking at chord tones, right? Let's just say I have a one chord, I'm in A Ionian, right? And I'm gonna do my one chord. I have my 1, 3, 5, right? That's the tones that the chord tones that I'm gonna sort of target. And then for my 4 chord, I have my 4, my 6, and my 1 again, right? My 1 is the root note of the scale, Ionian, A Ionian, but it is not the root note of the 4 chord, right? It's a chord tone of the 4 chord, but it's the 5 of that 4 chord. Okay, I know that there's a lot of theory there, but at this point that should be pretty well digested. So I have a 1, 3, 5 for my 1 chord. I have a 4, 6, and 1 for my 4 chord. Cool. There's a way that we can look at this. Is that when we're sort of forming our phrases, because we're really relating this stuff to language, is not every note is as important as the next. Whereas when you're speaking, not every word is as important as the next, but without getting too theoretical, in some sort of linguistic sense, let's just get into it. Let me show you what I mean. Let me show you how to use this to build better phrases and sort of like a more robust sort of guitar soloing vocabulary. Is I could take just 2 notes, right, and say 2 really important words, right? Mary and, I don't know, give me another one. Limousine. Okay, like that. Okay, those are going to be my 2 words for a sentence, And then I'm going to do the 3 for my 1 chord. That's my chord tone. And then I'm going to do the 4 for my 4 chord. Okay, that's the root note of my 4 chord. That's my Mary, limousine. Mary, limousine. Right? Those are my important words. Now, I can dress this up and deliver it as interestingly as I want, I saw Mary getting into a limousine. It's a couple words before Mary, right? So, okay, cool. Limousine was like the last word of the sentence, So, I'm going to do a lead in. So if I do 1, 2, 3, 1 on beat 1, that's my most important word and my most important note. So the words before I saw, right, where those are going to be a little bit before, but I'm landing on the most important note on beat 1, the most important beat, the strongest beat of that measure. And then I'm going to land on limousine, okay, or the strongest the next strongest word, I should say, for the 4 chord on beat 1 when I get to that 4 chord, right? Now, let's take, just for sake of like me not having to mumble out a whole bunch of different sentences, let's just take all of that away, okay, and just focus on this note. So if you listen to that, solo, there is no doubt that that note and that note are the more important notes. And we're dressing around that. And this is where we start getting a little bit more creative when we're talking about delivering a solo that is sing-alongable, right? So if I really want to make that sing-alongable, right, that's going to be very, very sing-alongable. I want to interject here because this is not part of the tutorial that I'm talking about. This could be a little bit different. You can use these same tactics, these same concepts with something as simple as the pentatonic scale, and it doesn't even have to be over changes, right? If I'm just playing, getting kind of boring, right? Pick your strong notes. All right, I want to hit that one. So now we're just going to go like this. Those are going to be my two notes. Can I dress them up a little bit? Cool. Staying well within the pentatonic scale, we still have the same concept. The two notes, this one and that one, right, my flat 3 and my root note, are still the focal point, and then we're just dressing around them, and that's the point. You can dress it up as much as you want, and what we're doing is we're just like, this is a dressing, we're not muddying the waters and just sort of like blah, blah, blahing up and down the pentatonic scale anymore, because we know where the important notes lie and how to dress the phrase up around those. But I can start using what the human voice can't do, right? And only the guitar or some sort of an instrument, but in this case the guitar, can do, right? And if I have that, okay, now we're getting a little faster. Right? If I want to do something legato, or if I pick all those notes, you know? Now I'm starting to move into a space of faster phrases that are not, for a few notes, not sing-alongable, without losing the core of the sentence, right? Without losing the core of the phrase. So we don't have to go from nice and sing-alongable to like, right, running up the scale that way. We can do it in one phrase, and this is where it gets really interesting, because we're never leaving, or for this example, we're never leaving this this linguistic structure, you know, but we're also not just being so stuck in a motif and so stuck in something that we can digest, and sort of, you know, the idea of a melodic sing-alongable solo is really moving up in seconds and maybe thirds, right? We're not huge jumps, because if I have that, right, a phrase like that, there's huge jumps that are moving too quickly that doesn't mimic the human voice, right, the human speech pattern. But something like that does, you know? So I can morph the two, so I'm not just stuck here or stuck here, right? This is when we're sort of talking about where most people get stuck, is they're not running up and down the scale or doing any sort of like sweep picking or anything cool, like with the fast runs, but and then they're also not doing anything memorable and building motif, and they're stuck in this middle road, and that's where they get right. It's not fast enough to be cool, right, and sort of like compelling, and it's definitely not sing-alongable and interesting enough to be a motif, and we're stuck in the middle. And then if we go between the two, I'll just do it again for response, right? That first one ends on the 2 and then brings it down. That is over here, very motif, you know. And then if I want, right, that first run up is very over here, you know, and getting it to moving a little bit faster, you know, what have you, if I want to, you know, do something like that. So that is those deliberate choices. Don't get stuck in the middle. The cool thing though is we now are going to work on, oh, can I put these two together? Can I play these two in one simple phrase, right? You know, if I did, there's a little bit of that in both, right? There's faster over here and then motif over here, and I'm not muddying the waters in between. So I want you to try that, you know? And the best way to do it, the best way to start this is you could just take, you know, right? An easy phrase like that. That can even start as 2, 3, 4. I'm doing it as though the 1 is only one measure and the 4 is only one measure, right? So the 3 and then the 4. Cool. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Let's say, all right. Even just doing easy changes, I'm not losing those 2 notes as the main structure of this phrase. But I'm starting to add a little bit more, right? Right? Something like that. Okay, cool. Even expanding out the scale a little bit. That is very much dressing up the original phrase of just picking 2 notes, one for the 1 chord and one for the 4 chord, right? And then adding more to it, and then adding more to it, and taking a little bit from this bucket, if we can, and expanding on it without losing the purpose and losing the language, which we do get if we do have sort of that. Or even, I'm sorry, I'm so in the mode of sort of going from one to the other. That first, you know, sort of an arpeggio sweep up there. I'm missing a note in there somewhere. You know, that idea, that first sweep is definitely not sing-alongable if I'm doing it that fast. You know, but then that is, you know, and that's sort of the idea that I do want to get into is we're not thinking sort of like over here is like one bike and over here is another bike, and we're just like, all right, I'm over here, I'm doing this thing now, okay, let me put this bike down and then let me pick this one up and start riding this one. Cool. Let me put this one down and then pick this one up and start riding it. That we can musically move through these 2 ideas, and this is just going to make things less stagnant. Thank you everybody for sitting through that video. I hope that it really helps. If you feel like you're stuck in that robotic plateau that we were talking about in the beginning, you know, you're just sort of running up and down the scales, you're not saying anything compelling, there's a couple things that you could do from here. There's a link to a free training, 3 steps to full fretboard fluency, that you can check out, where I go through this. Some more of these linguistic concepts and making your guitar solos better and really saying the things that you want to say. In that particular video, if you feel like you are ready for our fretboard fluency mentorship program where we tackle all of this, there is a link to book a free consultation call. We just ask a few questions, see where you're at, see if we're the best fit for you, and just hit follow, subscribe, you know, the whole deal, and I will see you in the next video.